Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Creatio, and I will be your host this afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for Creatio's webinar with TATA Consultancy Services. We're excited to discuss our webinar topic with you today, which is the 5 powerful aspects of a low-code technology that strengthen your CRM initiatives. We look forward to providing you with a live demonstration and real-world use cases throughout the webinar. We're also excited to be joined with you today with 2 excellent speakers, John Rothgeb of TATA Consultancy Services and Alex Petrunenko of Creatio. We've established the following agenda for you today. We'll introduce our speakers and the companies participating in the webinar, which are Creatio and TATA Consultancy Services. John will then discuss the business impact and growth of the global low-code market, followed by his discussion of the 5 low-code technologies that we've identified, which strengthen CRM initiatives and provide real-world use cases. Alex Petrunenko will then provide a live demonstration of Creatio's low-code offering, and he will highlight the applications of low-code platforms that help users accomplish automation and increase efficiency. And lastly, we will open up a Q&A section for our viewers. We invite you to ask your questions in the question section of the GoToWebinar section on your screen, and we will answer these questions following the discussions. Any unanswered questions our team intends to answer offline, and we will respond via email. We'll also provide you with a presentation following our webinar. I'd now like to hand off the presentation to John Rothgeb of TATA Consultancy Services. John?
Thanks, Craig. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be here. I head up global SPM pre-sales and strategy for TCS Sales Performance Management practice, and I've been doing SPM for well over a decade. And I think you might ask, why does an SPM guy talk about low-code CRM? But SPM is often considered part of CRM. We always integrate with CRM, and most of SPM has been low-code and no-code by design for decades. Plus, before doing SPM, I worked in an embedded database company for a decade, and I supported our customers and trained them and implemented. And they were all ISVs. Among them were several low-code 4GL tools like Magic Software. And along the way, I've also helped implement a few SFA and CRM solutions as well. So a little about TCS now. We can look at the next slide. I would imagine the global webinar infrastructure is being kind of overburdened these days. So, okay, you know, those of you, probably a lot of you have heard about TCS, but some may not have. TCS is a large, fast-growing, and highly regarded IT services consulting and business solutions leader within TATA Group out of India, but we're worldwide. We have over 1,000 enterprise customers, each contributing $1 million of revenue or more across 46 countries. And we have 183 solution centers in 19 countries across the globe. You can see we're, 20 billion US revenue, over 100 billion market capitalization. And I think the most interesting thing is we actually were founded in 1968 as a TATA Group company to handle the IT for TATA Group and for basically any enterprise across the globe. We provide development, solution, IT managed services for most of our 1,000+ enterprise clients. And this means that we have to stay on the leading edge of trends like low code, no code, and SPM in order to remain current, relative, and competitive. If we do things the way we did them in 1968, we'd be out of business. We're also constantly upgrading the skill sets of our associates on things like low code and many, many other areas to keep abreast of these trends. Alex, over to you.
Thanks, John. Everybody, Alex Petrunenko here, Enterprise Solutions Manager with Creatio. I do not have the 20 years of experience that John has, but I do have my humble 8 years experience in CRM and low-code technologies. Been working with many different companies and organizations over the years, and I do have quite a lot of experience in explaining to the customers and partners how exactly low-code has been empowering CRM over the past many years, and what is the benefit that they can take out of the joint solution of CRM and low code. A few words about Creatio. As you know, Creatio is a global vendor of CRM and low code technologies. We've been on the market for almost 18 years now. We do have 5 offices around the world, and we actually have reached out and are present in more than 100 countries, together with our very vast partnership network, which TCS is part of. We have also been highly recognized in Magic Quadrants of Gartner across different industries, starting with classic CRM, lead management, and others, and of course as well in IBPM and lowcode quadrants. But we've as well received the recognition through Forrester as well, where we've been included in more than 6 different Forrester ways for, again, very different aspects of our platform. And now I'm going to be passing back to you, John.
Thanks, Alex. So, the big question really is why low code, and it's all about the business impact. So I'm going to take a little time on this slide to go through each one of these and talk about what's really behind each one and how they tie together, because they do. So faster time to market and accelerated app delivery. Obviously, everybody wants that, but in today's market, with competitive pressures, it's all about agility. So if you're faster to market, you can be more agile. When you use low code, you put development close to the business process, you take a lot of the load off of IT, and the apps and changes are delivered more quickly, and it helps also reduce those IT backlogs so IT can be more responsive. How many of us have seen, the business request things of IT and it goes into a queue that won't be addressed for weeks or months? TCS is actually a solution to that. We get called in, and you can be faster to market if you call TCS in to use low code to deliver the apps and help train your business people and work with them to be agile. Digital transformation's all the rage, and with low code, if you're faster to market and more agile, obviously the digital transformation gets done more quickly, so it gets boosted. If you can easily adapt your applications to changing needs of the customers, internal and external, and the markets, obviously the digital transformation will probably be more successful. Digital transformation is key to competitiveness today, especially for CRM. Sales and service are critical areas, and they depend on CRM, and everybody's looking at CX, which is my next box. CX, customer experience, focuses on customer retention and increasing revenue. And who doesn't want to increase revenue? Digital transformation is also vital for the flexibility and agility to adapt. And everybody talks about how business environments are changing so quickly today. So digital transformation is a place that companies are looking to address these fast-changing business environments and highly competitive environments. CX is another one. Probably if you pay attention to any of the technical press, you'll hear a lot of stuff about CX. There are a lot of companies, big ERP companies, and just about everybody focuses on CX. And when we talk about CX, we mean both internal and external customers. So your sales and service people, anybody who touches a customer and needs to see a 360 view of that customer needs CRM. So I'm getting someone calling in here, and I am going to decline that because it's distracting me. So we were talking about CX. So when you put the development in the hand of analysts who are closer to customers and understand it better than IT to build those apps and processes, everything gets better. External CX improves because anything that helps the sales and service people and increases engagement improves your customer experience. Next is shadow IT. In SPM, we do something called shadow accounting. And basically, people in business are trying to do some IT because they can't get IT to do it. Obviously, that is not efficient or good. When you bring the development into the business, at least part of the development, you have to open up channels to IT. It takes the backlog off of IT, and you have to collaborate and work on the process. But the good part is there's no need for those rogue initiatives. And you free up time and resources in the business to, again, focus on the customer and focus on the things they do best, which isn't IT. Fluid business and IT collaboration. I think I've already talked a little about how when you bring part of development into the business and put it closer to the processes. You also wind up having to collaborate with IT and open up channels of communication. This makes your business work the way it really needs to work. Instead of having silos where IT goes off and does its thing, sales and business do their thing, you actually have to talk. And if you've got your citizen developers in business, they still depend on IT for a lot of expertise, probably around data, around security, and probably around the whole development process. And it opens up and formalizes collaboration, opens shared development processes and spaces and communication channels. And last but certainly not least, reducing costs and increasing revenue. Well, everybody wants to increase revenue. Anytime you make business processes more efficient, it gives the business people more time to focus on what they're best at. In the case of sales, it's increasing revenue. The rest of CRM increases retention. When you retain customers, you increase revenue as well. So reducing costs, obviously, if you're making, if you're developing these things more quickly, if you're eliminating multiple integrated applications and multiple applications where you have to pay subscription fees, you're reducing costs. You're also allowing people to do more, which reduces the employee costs, the labor costs. So it's a little hard to track all the different places that revenues increase and costs are reduced, but if you use the right metrics, it really shows up. And we see that in SDM as well, which is part of CRM. So let me give you a quick couple little examples, and we'll get on to some more slides, which I won't quite spend as much time on. Let's say you need some steps in the quote process changed. Having your CRM admin and sales operations who's trained in low-code CRM, or possibly an analyst do it, would be far faster than having to request IT resources, join the queue, wait until PM and programmer resources are freed up to deliver it. You also would have to take requirements, translate those requirements into their tools and their processes. And these days, with 200,000 coding positions I hear open nationwide, you might get it done with your citizen developers in business in just days versus weeks or months for IT to actually get on and do that whole process of requirements gathering, design, development, testing, and return it over to the business for acceptance testing. And that would be with even simple changes. I would just end this slide with how many of you use a CRM app that seems like it isn't tailored to the work sales or service does every day. And I know that's been my experience in many places I work. And I'll have an example of that a little bit later. Low code means that CRM can stay up to date and relevant to the business needs and wouldn't need to be replaced periodically. And we see the need. That's great for TCS if you come in and you've had a CRM for 5 years and you need to upgrade it because it isn't fitting. But if you have something that, like low-code CRM that Creatio delivers, it adapts on a very quick and regular basis, so it always stays up to date. Okay, let's talk about the market a little bit. Hopefully that last slide sparked some questions. So global low-code development, we were just talking before the webinar. It's been going on since the late 80s, early 90s, but it has moved into the cloud now. And it is the largest markets in North America and the fastest growing markets in Asia Pacific. In 2018, the market was $5 billion. It grew to $8 billion. Both Gartner and Forrester agree that it's growing at a 40 to 50% clip. And it is a very dynamic and open area and will really help your businesses if it is suitable to adapt. Here are a couple more data points about the low-code market, how it's driven by digital transformation. There's a huge amount of money going into digital transformation. A good chunk of that is low-code. 65% of the development activity will be on low-code, they estimate, in less than 5 years. And Gartner is tracking 220 low-code development tool vendors out there. So why not put development in the hands of a business analyst who knows the process, defines the requirements, and understands the sales force and customers? So, okay, let's talk about what we mean here before we get into the examples of what we mean by CRM. And under these big digital transformation and CRM initiatives, what we mean by CRM is anything that touches the customer that's supported by an application. And so that would be here. That would be things like on the front end, sales performance and incentive compensation. That would be your sales CRM for account management. It would also be sales enablement things like CPQ, LMS, and dozens of others. And then CRM that extends to any other places like customer success, service, support, also could extend to vendors, other departments, maybe even finance. There are cases for all of that. So when we say CRM, we're not mainly talking about that app for salespeople who deal with customers all day long. We're talking about any places that it might touch, and we'll actually give some examples with logistics a little bit later on. Basically, with low code, you can start with core CRM and build your best-of-breed suite all on one platform, as well as integrate as needed. So how does that strengthen your CRM initiatives? Well, within that digital transformation, you're able to use visual models with business process and case designers. These were and are big in IT. And with low code, these extend over to the business, and you can collaborate with IT as well on this. But they're all integrated. The business process and case designers are integrated with where you develop and the rest of the platform. You got drag and drop interfaces for quick development of things that you don't really want to reinvent the wheel by writing code for fields and screens. You got cross-platform accessibility for multiple different platforms where you have to bring in data like e-commerce, HRIS, ERP, but also cross-platform in terms of mobile, web, and other things like e-commerce where you have to integrate those in those different ways. Low code brings in reusability. With visual modules, you can drag and drop and then configure and customize. And you also have built-in application lifecycle management. We're going to take each of these 5 key abilities and show how they really supercharge your CRM initiatives. So let's move on to visual models here, our first one. So IT has been using visual process and case design tools for years, but putting them in the hands of business skips the slow and difficult, inefficient process of translating those requirements from the business tools into the visual IT tools so you can do design and development. It lets your business quickly design, document, generate code, test, handle version control, and places all those functions close to the needs and processes in the hands of citizen developers. IT can still work with business to handle key competency areas like data and security as well. So we got an example here of a process design tool in Creatio Studio. This shows a sales recruiting process for a hiring manager, but a candidate comes over from HR. The process automates all the steps the hiring manager would have to do manually and could feed into an onboarding app. You might have your HRIS app. You can see the blue square on the left-hand side where it invites a candidate for an interview. So that might be where it integrates with HRIS, and that data comes over from the initial interview to the hiring manager interview. This facilitates the hiring manager, and setting this up with Creatio, HR would pass the data from the initial screening plus any other info, so you didn't have to reinvent the wheel by entering that data, and then it would track it all the way through to an onboarding process, let's say. So I think anybody here familiar with Visio can see, or even with just a little training, can see that what we call a citizen developer could easily design the CRM process visually in very little time. So let's look at the case designer now. Here's another example, visual process design tool from Creatio for lead management process. And that's building a lead funnel and processes each stage of the lead journey. And again, you can see the steps can be edited. They're fully visual. Depending on your business requirements, if they change or you find an improvement, it's easy to come in here and change them. And this also feeds into the documentation. So documentation is always a challenge with programmers and IT. But if your business people are documenting it here and that all feeds into your documentation, it makes it extremely easy. So when we were coming up with this webinar, I was talking to the Creatio team and mentioned that I was working with a large CRM practice within TCS, and they shared with me that the client we were talking to originally had 17 screens in CRM that were needed to fill something in to complete a sale. Now, we were brought in And our practice analyzed it, replaced it with one page, optimized the process, and increased sales velocity significantly. They had to bring us in, of course, as an outside SI to see this, do this. But with low code, your internal business user analyst could easily talk to the salespeople, optimize those processes, keep the CRM solution up to date, and even add new ones for more enablement and automation. This does great things. It's making the sales process more efficient. What happens is your sales guys can spend more time on sales activity, they bring in more revenue, and they also boost their own salary, because not only do you want more revenue, but you want salespeople, like everybody in your company, to make a little more year over year. And with these kinds of tools and abilities to improve processes, that's very possible. If we can go on to drag and drop now. So let's talk about why drag and drop makes low code so powerful and effective. And again, we're talking a lot about moving from manual coding into visual processes and using non-coders, but people who know the process, to develop apps. The P-SQL, which is procedural SQL, programming SQL basically on the left, shows why application development improvement has been left to IT. You know, salespeople in business, they specialize in English. This obviously is not really English. With low code, drag and drop on the right, you do exactly the same thing as the hard coding, but you do it in the business close to the process. And this enables and empowers the business users to make frequent changes as needed without requiring to have to throw it over a wall to programming and IT and have to wait weeks or months, or maybe not even get it done. So, I mean, that's the thing that happens quite a bit, is that it's so painful to try and get IT to do it, because IT has demands from every single department. And they also have security concerns of people trying to hack or attack. They have all these other things to pay attention to. If the business can build the visual screens and do a lot of the GUI and UI stuff, then you can work very smoothly and efficiently with IT, and IT will be happy as well. So let's look at the various interfaces that you've got in Creatio now to actually do this visual development. So Creatio started in BPM, or workflow, business process management. And that's very applicable to CRM, and it's applicable far beyond just processes. So they've really extended it to 19 different low-code design interfaces for just about every possible need. You've got great breadth of creation for every eventuality, and even a citizen designer can jump into any of these designers, be familiar, and see visually what the end user will see, and build it and test it and improve it and then deliver it. So designing data, processes, screens, all the way to mobile applications or chatbots, those are all supported by Creatio as low code or even no code. So I think we have one more case study here. So from my area of expertise, ICM, which is very complex, particularly insurance, finance, and telco, because there is a lot of regulation. And each box here is its own process. These processes are often done manually by spreadsheet, phone, or email, or they code a bespoke app, a custom app in IT for this sort of thing, which tends not to be very flexible. And what this means is ICM teams are often unable to easily integrate their processes into CRM, leading to disconnects. And you really don't want disconnects between paying your salespeople and how they do their job. So things in both ICM and SPM, but also in low-code CRM, like pre-built workflows, drag-and-drop dashboards, allow these complex processes to be managed far more easily and integrated better. Sales and operations can do way more with this kind of operation, and that leaves the sales force to focus on their sales activities rather than jumping to 17 screens or setting something up in a spreadsheet and sending it by email, hoping a comp analyst will see it, and then having to call them on the phone. Basically, it's all tracked within the CRM, and this, in the end, it helps to deliver more revenue. I think you might see a continuing theme that in the end, not only is lowering cost a big piece, but delivering more revenue, having people really work in their areas of expertise.
So I think we've covered the drag and drop now. Let's look at some cross-platform accessibility. Of course, even with low code, CRM won't entirely be a world unto itself. We should discuss how low code supports this cross-platform accessibility. And most organizations will have ERP, HRIS, e-commerce, and other things, plus mobile, that'll need to be integrated. So Creatio is a great example of this cross-platform accessibility. Creating low code allows for applications that work across platforms. I think I mentioned mobile. It allows you to reduce costs because you're not using multiple development environments, and that's critical for your CRM users. In the case of omnichannel, here's one that I've run across again. Omnichannel is a big deal in retail, and all it really means is that customers can use any channel, web, direct sales, mobile, partners, whatever, at any point in the sales process. It used to be that in the different channels, people had to stay in their channel. They started on web, they finished on web. If they started with the salespeople, they needed to finish salespeople. Well, we want to improve the customer experience, but it's not easy to support because a lot of things were developed with the idea that you start in a channel, you stay in the channel. We were working with a high-end luxury goods retailer. Where managing the omni-channel incentives was a key requirement. Their existing systems didn't support this. They were looking for a way to manage this so their personal shoppers got paid no matter where they were working with the customer because their existing systems didn't support that. The personal shoppers tended to only get paid when the customer came into the store, worked with them, purchased an item. Now a lot of the customers were going on the websites, calling the personal shoppers, working with them. The shoppers are spending time. Then they go purchase it on the web, and they didn't get paid. So their personal shoppers were upset and liable to leave. These are long experienced, highly trained people, and they weren't getting credit for the sales. With a single low-code CRM platform, you can fix this easily because you're using one platform and you're extending it to all of these multiple platforms as well, bringing data in or building apps for the different platforms. This is true in banking as well. Everybody, I imagine, is somewhat familiar with all the dashboards in banking. The same thing is true. If you call your banker up, you've been using some sort of online services, a lot of times they have trouble looking this up. But with a low-code CRM, not only when you show up face-to-face and they start your account and do all these things, but when you go on the platform, on the web, any other channels that they support, anybody that you talk to at that bank should be able to look and see what the last activities were. This is really important in today's world to adapt to changing market conditions, to support CX, and to just run in these changing market conditions. Let's talk about reusability as well. This is a really important area. That widens the low-code CRM's range and increases efficiency. So here we see just kind of a generic major aspect, application A and application B. And with CRM, you can use low-code modules. So the out-of-box low-code modules get used and reused like typical code to develop various and sophisticated applications and integrations. So an example here might be sales and marketing. You use marketing BRMs with application A. They're doing leads and opportunities and qualifying. Application B might be CRM. And so you can integrate those two so there's easy and quick handoff. This doesn't always happen. But the nice thing you'd have all the data with no data re-entry and smooth handoff between BRMs and sales execs. That is key to closing the sale and increasing sales velocity. This would also be applicable between sales and implementation. I've experienced this in previous lives where we sold software and then we handed off to be set up and implemented. The handoffs were always bad between the CRM and the project manager in implementation because oftentimes the guys in implementation or professional services were not using CRM and they couldn't see all the things that have been promised to the customer. So with these low-code modules and the people who are actually using these, developing them close to the people who are using them, you get a much better experience and better handoff and a smoother running organization between different groups. I think we have another use case with a Creatio customer, where Visteon, big company, 10,000 employees, 19 countries, and automotive. They use low-code CRM to automate with several key workflows. They list the workflows there under results. Visteon used out-of-the-box modules to build workflows to automate, accelerate, and track operations in 5 different areas with low-code CRM. And if this had to be done by integrating 4 more applications, it would have been far less efficient and taken far longer to set up. And CRM became the single source of truth for all customer information, and that unified critical customer and logistics processes that they had to track. And in my experience, I have done CPQ stuff, which would be that first bullet, quotation development and forecasting. I'm doing opportunity management, heading up pre-sales for TCS and in many other companies that I worked for before. Your vehicle lifecycle management is something where you're integrating sales with service and trying to retain the customer to buy that next vehicle. Document flow is always a pain. I've done a bunch of CLM, and I can tell you from my experience in reporting, again, I've used external reporting tools. Taking these and integrating them with SPM or CRM is time-consuming, expensive, and doesn't always work well. You can use one platform, and you use your citizen developers who are close to the real needs of people doing these tasks, you're going to have a lot better solution. Last but certainly not least, we can look at the application lifecycle management, which doesn't really occur to citizen developers, but is a huge IT concern. It's all integrated into Creatio, and if you look at any other low-code tools for any other needs, I would make sure that your application lifecycle management is built in. So application lifecycle management is part of DevOps, and IT is, especially in big companies, kind of fanatical on this, and it's difficult to handle. We could go into that on another webinar, but basically, especially with multiple integrated CRM solutions, you have all these different dev environments, very hard to handle DevOps. Whole industries are built around the tools for DevOps. You hear Atlassian's Jira, tools from Microsoft, CA, IBM, Rational, CollabNet, and dozens of others, and tools are sophisticated and expensive. But what I found is IT DevOps doesn't really apply under SPM or low-code CRM because a lot of the things that you would handle aren't code, and they're built into sales operations. On top of that, the whole application lifecycle management is built into Creatio, and it handles everything. Solves these issues by building the ALM tools in that manage all the components. It allows you to revert back and see different versioning, and that saves both time and money of extra apps and needs for outside tools and integration efforts. Okay, I think we have a use case for Rangel here. We'll try and wrap this up. We started a little late, so I'm trying to get through this quickly. So Rangel, again, a Creatio customer, global logistics operator. They integrate a wide range of transport and logistics services as a one-stop shop solution for their customers. And so in this case, their use of low-code CRM shows how to scale their operational capabilities from manual to operated, giving the business users more control of that development and application lifecycle. So Rangel processes were mostly manual. They needed to automate. They were having trouble tracking logistics and serving customers better. The business team built those extensions with low-code and modular solutions, and they extended the CRM to other departments, partners, and vendors who all needed to see that same information, and that facilitated the information sharing and allowed them to track logistics from team to team, inside and outside the company. And this resulted in them handling more shipments with the mobile app, more shipments overall. It reduced their admin time, which meant there was more time to be spent on customer activities, improving their customer experience, and doing better logistics. So that basically covers the 5 main areas where low-code can strengthen your CRM initiatives.
Thank you so much, John, for your excellent presentation. I'd now like to hand off the presentation to Alex Petrunenko to lead a live demonstration of Creatio's low-code offering. Alex?
Okay, perfect. So before we jump into the live demo, probably just a few minutes recapping the fact that Creatio, as you all know, is a global vendor in classic CRM suite with sales, marketing, and service automation that are actually pretty unique in the way that they are standing on a single platform. And of course, that platform is our low-code studio application that has been used in order to deliver the outstanding functionality across different modules for the automation that we provide in the core and the product offering. But as well, that was used in order to create our Creatio marketplace, right? That has a lot of extensions, has a lot of add-ons, and actually has a lot of templates that are used and reused by our customers and partners to deliver very specific functionality to their customers, to their organizations. So that being recapped, let's probably move to the live demo then. Okay, perfect. And I will start sharing my screen in just a second here. Perfect. That you should be seeing right now. And basically what I do like to start the demonstration of the product is really with the dashboards, because this is where we really try to focus the work, or the start of the day of any end user. This is where they can actually see the results of their progress without their KPIs. Maybe this is where we can as well bring some of the ICM and SPM data and information forward. And really the idea here is actually to bring this live dashboarding, live reporting to the look of the users. Now, of course, the idea here as well is that since we do provide marketing, sales, and service on a single platform, all of these areas can be exposed to the end users, and the dashboard can actually focus the work of the users around what is important to them, right? And all of these are, of course, delivered with the help of our low-code technology, where we can as well simply outline those key metrics, those graphs and visuals, and bring them forward through just simple point and click and declarative functions. But of course, as we mentioned a couple of times, what is most important in bringing this screen to the users, even if it's just an opportunity profile, to actually have the end users better understand where exactly he or she is standing within the workflows that have been designed. And this is where we can see the progress bar outlining the workflow in the DCM. This is where we can bring forward all of the current steps that are scheduled to be completed, whether those are being brought forward by the DCM, by BPM functionality, or even those are ad hoc actions and steps that the users schedule themselves. And of course, this whole main data set that has been designed and is provided out of the box. And what is really important here, guys, is really looking into the tools that have been used to bring this all forward and to create this amazing functionality that help our customers be very efficient throughout the day. Now, the tool that we have in question, and of course, we have a lot of tools for configuration, but the major and the most important tool is definitely the section wizard, because this is where we've aggregated main and most important steps in the configuration of the application, where we define the access and the way that the section is being set up, access through self-service portals, and let's say through partner portals, area to design those cases and business processes, right? And of course, this is the same tool that you would use if you were to design a new business object, since again, we create reusable and consistent functionality that can be used in different perspectives across the application. So if we start with some of the first steps, which is the section design and the portal design, you can see that this is a fully drag and drop WYSIWYG sort of configuration of the application, where we can easily take out and we can easily reposition some of those fields and columns that are available in the structure of the objects. Obviously, on the left-hand side, we've got different options that we can use here. If we do want to reuse some of those that have been removed before, we can definitely do that. If we want to add a new column straight away, we can do that by simply taking say, a string field or a text field and just placing it on the available area on the grid. Give a title and name for the database, caption for the page for the end users, and set up any advanced settings that you feel like should be applied to this column. And of course, everything here is done in a very accelerate mode there's very little time that is required to bring this forward for the end users. And of course, once we save the settings on the section, the system does everything in the background, compiles the database, brings forward the JavaScript, and generates it for the end users so that the changes are applied in minutes. And of course, we can bring more visual components to the UI and to the user experience by embedding charts, metrics, gauges, and even iframes directly into the records, directly into the user interface. And this is, again, what helps our customers be a little bit more efficient and helps their users work a bit easier throughout the day. But of course, another very important area for the design of the application would be the low-code approach to defining business roles. And this is where, through very simple if-then conditioning and configuration, we define that a specific field should be either displayed, made required, or made editable based on the conditions that are assigned on top of the screen, right? And again, usually this is something that you would have to hard code, you would have to apply methods, and really run through the configuration mode. In our case, we say that this is brought through simple point and clicking and really doesn't require to have any advanced technical knowledge, any advanced or any at all technical education. But one of the key advantages of Creatio is that we don't actually limit our customers to just using the drag and drop low code approach. It is only simplifying the way that the whole configuration of the application is done, where all of our customers still have access to the source code and still have access to continue their more classic development procedures and processes without having to be limited to only what is there under the hood and out of the box. And carrying forward, of course, we do want to as well mention that the portal configuration for limited access is basically the same section wizard, but just through a different architectural point of view. Where we do want to continue forward will be the dynamic case definition, where we definitely talk about the fact that based on specific stages and types of opportunities, whether those are going to be renewal or an upselling, where those are going to be based on the channel of the opportunity, we can define multiple workflows or multiple cases that are going to be driving the whole work of the users. And this is just an example of one of the dynamic case management approaches that we have applied to this type of opportunities. We're definitely on top of the screen. You can see all of the stages that are incorporated. At any moment, even the business user, the business power user, can actually say that we want to add a new stage, go through the settings and configuration of the specific stage, how the system will be allowing the users to transition between those stages, and then continue adding all of the steps that might be required at this point. Up to the fact that some of them can be actually repositioned through the existing stages so that we introduce a little bit restructured case for the opportunity. And even if we want to run some simple approvals, have the ability to dynamically change the access rights under the application, or send out email notifications and even call sub processes. And absolutely right, this is exactly what I said. But then the dynamic case management approach, which is always considered to be more agile, more used for unstructured processes, we can still embed a business process that is going to be running a completely different way of guiding the users to the next steps that are required in the workflow. And as John has mentioned a couple of times throughout his presentation, the business process management engine in Creatio is the core foundation of the platform. This is where, through simple drag and drop way of configuration, we can actually define what are going to be the steps that the users will be required to complete, whether those are something that will actually influence on the process execution, right, which will guide the user to the next step based on the result of the completed activity, or whether those are going to be system actions, something that the system can carry out completely behind the scenes without any user interaction, without any involvement from the user side. And this is covering the basic CRUD, formula calculation, and data transformation, changing access rights. And in my opinion, two very important pieces of functionality. First of all, where we can actually incorporate a live web service call within the process execution to capture data through third-party applications, or to send over the data to a third-party application. And John, I believe you would agree that this is the exact way that two applications for CRM and SPM could actually work perfectly together, because the data can be exchanged live and be available same moment on both sides, right?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
yeah.
Great example.
I'm glad I'm on the same page, John. But just to finish up the overview of some of the tools that we have here, obviously we have multiple starting events to automate the launch of the processes, whether there should be simple through sub-process, signal start and timer start, having the ability to reuse multiple gateways on the left-hand side here. And again, as we've mentioned, use a sub-process. So as soon as our customers see that they have configured a business process that can be considered to be a template, maybe this is a complex approval process or notification or something like that, they can reuse it at any given moment of time as they continue working with the design of these processes. Because in our case, we don't have any limit on number of processes that could be designed or running at the same time, or any number of processes that could be reused. And just to kind of take just a few more minutes of the webinar time on the demo, what I wanted to bring forward is also the fact that within the process execution, we might as well incorporate a data prediction element, which means that live within the process execution, we can reuse some of those machine learning models that we have available in the application that can be as well actually designed through low-code environment without having the ability, without having the need to incorporate any advanced configuration, coding, and a data scientist. Our customers are able to define what it will be the type of the data prediction, which records are going to be considered as successful, which columns to take into the training data set, and how to assign, how to retrain the model. All of this is significantly increasing time to value. This enables our customers to actually be more agile and self-sufficient in their IT initiatives, because they are not dependent on the vendor, they're not dependent on their implementation partner and SI. And just the last moment here, just the last point of demonstration, definitely we talked about cross-platform, we talked about the ability to use your CRM on multiple applications. And what is worth mentioning here is that Creatio definitely as well provides a mobile application that is fully configurable, it is purpose-based, and is displaying and bringing all of the required data to the end user's phone, tablet, or any other device. And of course, the design in this mode is as well carried out in the same drag and drop point and click method of configuration that again brings a lot of value and decreases the time to market, time to deployment. And at this moment, I will probably stop with the demonstration, because definitely I can talk about Creatio's configuration capability for way more than just 15-20 minutes. But let's probably get back to the to our presentation, and let's probably carry on with some more slides and then close up with the Q&A session.
Great. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, John. So this completes the final portion, the live demo portion of the webinar. And we'd now like to open our Q&A section of the webinar. We invited you to ask your questions throughout the presentation. So we will address some of these now, and we will address all unanswered questions offline. Our first question is, how can we convince and best train sales departments on this superpower? Sales teams are sometimes hard to convince to learn to use new technologies consistently. I believe this is a question for John. John?
Oh yeah. So yeah, sales teams are hard to convince. If they don't sell something, baby doesn't get new shoes. So so they'll use a spiral notebook rather than CRM. So I would say that the best way to do that, initially you need to convince and train sales department to use this, and then you've got to convince them to adopt it, and then you've got to convince them to use it. So initially you would build a business case, identify the ROI and TCO for this, how much more revenue. And one of the ways that you can convince the sales team is by showing them how, by using this, it actually maps to their process. Their business developers are taking their recommendations and adapting the CRM to the work they do, and that they can make more money by doing it. The other thing is they'll need some training. I always like to come in early when I'm training people and let them have a Q&A, give them some demos, and let them push back so they can have some buy-in. And then you just have to follow up those promises when you present and let them push back and get buy-in by executing on this and delivering workflows and CRMs that actually make them more efficient. So, you know, with salespeople, the proof's in the pudding. I have a buddy who's a sales guy, and he always says, I'm coin driven, put a quarter in me and I'll sell something. So show them the money and show them that what you told them is something you're actually delivering, and they will adopt it.
Yeah, John, I agree. I also think that change management is a huge area, right? And it's a huge discussion for any organization that is looking to make a switch or looking to adopt a new CRM, new software. But one of the key components here is actually addressing some of the pain points for the end users, for the sales guys. And as soon as they see that their pain is relieved, they actually adopt any applications a lot faster, based on my experience.
Absolutely. You're spot on with those pain points. You know, you'll have some early adopters, you'll have some guys who may never adopt it. The ones you want to convince are in the middle. Once they see those early adopters' pain points are gone, everybody will stampede to the new solution.
Totally.
Great, thank you so much, John. Our next question is, can you tell us the key differentiator of going for a low-code technology like Creatio for CRM versus standard cloud-based enterprise CRM? I believe this is a question for Alex. So Alex?
Yeah, thanks, Ray. Well, if you think about it from a perspective of, you know, comparing CRMs and compare low-code technologies, you don't get too many vendors of the CRM world that have the same level of configurability to their application as we do, right? So for me, having the ability to apply any kind of change to your CRM is crucial, because we all know that as soon as you've implemented your CRM, as soon as you've even implemented a process, a change will be required and needed in less than a day that it's been deployed and live, right? So having this ability to quickly make those changes and adapt to the changing business environment, this is what's key. But it's not just about having the tools put for configuration, but it's also not having any limits on the configuration side. Because a lot of vendors, they do put some limits on custom objects that you can have, on custom columns that you can have for those objects, or even a number of API calls that could be running between applications. This is, you know, done because of specific reasons, but this is limiting any kind of CRM user or CRM organization in the way that they can scale in the future, right? Because they are forced to either switch to a completely new application or to subscribe to a more, to more expensive price plan on their licenses.
I agree,
Great.
Alex. And from my perspective, having all your CRM functions on a unified development platform and being able to extend it to partners and within the company to other departments is a huge advantage and differentiator. I deal with environments where you've got one CRM, a different CPQ, another SPM, and all kinds of other applications that for the salespeople, for a common experience, you have to integrate all those. And they're all different development environments. Managing the code, managing the skills and training is a nightmare.
Absolutely. And you can actually even think about development adoption, right? Because we always talk about end user adoption and how end users will actually be using the CRM. But talk about those system administrators, business analysts, and citizen developers, including classic developers that have to adopt an application to be able to deliver the changes to it, right? So if the fewer applications you have on your stack, it means the better the adoption on the development side as well.
Right.
Great.
And then
Thank you so much.
You bet. Then the collaboration with IT, you extend that development platform to IT, and it really makes things better with sales and the business side talking to IT and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, both Alex and John, for a great presentation today. This completes the final portion of our webinar. Thank you for posting your questions throughout the presentation. We will be sending a recording of the webinar, and we will be answering all additional questions offline via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.